Trial captivating a nation.
Read is accused of killing her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The defense claims she was framed in a police cover-up.
On the scene to keep you informed at every turn.
In Dedham, Katie Benoit, NBC 10 News.
With live updates and legal analysis.
What happens then? Did the trial have to stop?
A lawyer's only as good as his or her word.
They failed miserably and they'll continue to fail.
On air, online, and on the app. NBC 10 News has the latest on the retrial of Karen Read.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gene Valicenti. Well, we're getting close to the defense wrapping up its case. But before that, we had an exciting day in court today. A motion for a mistrial again. This is the second time this has come up. What was this about? Well, the defense said the state introduced the hoodie. They're talking about John O'Keefe's hoodie, and they sandbagged him with that. They didn't know that was going to be allowed. It was allowed on the cross. Well, you can see it right here. You can see that hoodie. This is the crash test dummy. Let's go to Peter Elikann, one of our legal analysts who's been joining us. Peter, that's a short synopsis of what it was about, but you tell us, what was this mistrial bid for a mistrial about? It was denied in the end. What was it about?
Well, what happened was the prosecutor Hank Brennan introduced and actually showed in the glass case, I believe, the hoodie that was worn by Officer O'Keefe, and he mentioned something, and he was in the questioning of the witness. He asked about with holes in the back of the sweater. Of the hoodie here, would that be evidence of him, road rash or essentially being hit and moving along the back of it? And he didn't show that. He's supposed to, before he introduces evidence, he's supposed to show it to the other counsel, the defense counsel. And he did not do that. And they were outraged because they said he showed them holes in the back of that hoodie, but the holes were done when the criminalist from the state police was actually testing it. So they said it was extremely misleading that these holes in the back were caused by the accident when they were only the criminalist was in the laboratory, was testing it and made his own cuts. So what happened is they when they presented it to the judge, they said this has to be a mistrial because this is just so egregious that egregious and you can't unring the bell here. And the jury's already heard this and they've been misled. Yep. And with commendable candor, I guess the prosecutor, they were all doing a sidebar out of the ears of the jury. And Hank Brennan did say it was a mistake that he did it. He feels bad. So why isn't there an instruction that the judge can give to the jury about how it was misleading and how the holes were caused by the forensic testing in a laboratory, not the way the jury was led to believe that it could have been from the impact. And the judge did not grant the mistrial. It's not surprising. The judge, it would have to be something so giant, major, and explosive for the judge at this point to say, we've been hearing this trial for weeks, and all right, this trial is over, and we're going to have to at some point start from scratch at the beginning again. No way is any judge going to do that. Okay. But they preserved it for the appeal, which is the key thing. If for some reason she is convicted of anything, this will be one of their major arguments.
Okay. While you were speaking, we showed video of the hoodie ripped. Now it's on a crash test dummy in our video. Is that the same images that you're referring to?
I believe so. I was in another court at the time and couldn't watch it, yep. But I believe they were showing the actual O'Keefe's actual hoodie.
Okay, Katie, you join in. We've established what the argument was about. I just want to pin down the video we showed was shown in court, and it shows the hoodie. It's blue, and it's on a crash test dummy. Is that what we're talking about here?
So the hoodie that was in question about the mistrial that the defense wanted was actually shown in court. It was actually the hoodie John O'Keefe was wearing when he was found. Right. It's in kind of a plexiglass area to preserve it, so it's in this big glass area. So that was shown to the witness today, and then it was actually shown to the jury outside of that glass encasing after the judge denied that motion for a mistrial. Alessi actually held up the sweatshirt and showed the jury and was pretty close to them too. So they actually saw that sweatshirt outside of that glass encasing that it had been in.
So this is the actual hoodie he was wearing?
Yes, that's what was shown in court today.
All right, Dan, go ahead and show that again, just so we can, to me, it just looked, I'm not sure we were. Yeah, so we're looking at images of it on a crash test dummy. So this is different from the actual hoodie that was the subject of today's mistrial?
Yes, so there were some questions about the holes on the back of O'Keefe's actual hoodie that he was wearing. But again, that crash test dummy had holes in the sweatshirt he was wearing, which was very similar in material, pretty much the same sweatshirt O'Keefe was wearing. So some questions about that came up first, and then Hank Brennan showed the witness John O'Keefe's actual sweatshirt in that glass encasing.
I understand. Just so everybody's clear, those who are watching, that crash test dummy is wearing another hoodie to simulate what may have allegedly happened. The argument is over the actual hoodie that John O'Keefe was wearing and how he got the holes and how much the state, or the defense rather, the state can address that. Okay, this is the argument against the mistrial made by Hank Brennan. At one point, he says, "I made a mistake." Let's listen.
The more desperate the prosecution gets because it can't prove its theory, including its own medical examiner can't support them, that they're now resorting to conduct like this. Your Honor, at some point, this has to come to an end.
It appears that I made a mistake.
Okay, Alessi first, making the argument, I made a mistake. In the end, the judge denies it. Let's go ahead and run soundbite 2. The judge denies it, and then she has a special instruction for the jury to almost try to unring the bell, but you can't. Go ahead.
But we've wasted an awful lot of the jurors' time today. So I want to bring them in. You can tell just by looking at this jury, they're fed up.
Okay. Peter, was the defense right to push for that mistrial? Would you have done the same thing?
Yes, I think they knew they were never going to get a mistrial declared. But what they've done by making such a big complaint about it is that if for some reason she is convicted of something, that would be one of their big appealable issues. And they preserved that issue, that they complained about it, and we on the record. And so can't be denied that the judge didn't hear it. And yet the trial still continued. So it was the smart thing to do, but no way was this going to be declared a mistrial.
Okay. Also, Dr. Elizabeth LaPosada, who we remember here in Rhode Island as the medical examiner, she has since gone on to do other things. She's a paid expert witness. Was her testimony limited, Katie, today? Was the defense disappointed by that?
So there was some argument. She had a questioning without the jury present this morning, and her testimony is limited. She can't talk about dog bites. The judge says that she's not qualified enough to speak about dog bites. So that will not be allowed in. There are some other questions about evidence and some other things. The defense had to stop a little bit short today. They're getting into another line of questioning, so they had to stop. But her testimony will be limited. There was a couple of things that were talked about this morning. Also, she can talk about some of the injuries John O'Keefe had and whether or not they are typical of a crash or not. But she can't testify about every single thing the defense wanted her to. But this has been typical. We've seen in other witnesses as well, that sometimes their testimony is limited depending on their experience.
Dr. Elizabeth LaPosada, medical examiner here, goes on to other things. She's called an expert witness by Karen Reed's side. And she said that head trauma was caused when John O'Keefe fell. Do you make anything out of that, Peter?
No, she said
someone hit his head.
She raised the possibility. She said it definitely blunt force trauma. She said it hit something, and afterwards, and she mentioned that it could have been that he fell. And then also, though, she was asked about, well, could it have been done, if he got hit, and she raised that too. So nobody's really nailed that down. And certainly when they had the medical examiner from Massachusetts testify some time back, said the same thing, that couldn't really nail whether it was specifically, it said couldn't nail if it was a fight or if got, banged and knocked down and hit the head that way. All they can sort of definitely claim is that it was definitely blunt force trauma.
Right, I remember that from the Massachusetts medical examiner who testified for the state. All right, Peter, all of this taken together, and you've explained that whatever happened today could be raised on appeal. They gave them something to work with. Did the jury get anything out of today? Did we advance the case in any way apart from laying a foundation for a possible appeal?
Now that they're hearing the defense case, again, I sound like a broken record when I keep saying there's a lot of reasonable doubt in this case. There's a lot for them to hang their hat on. And when the jury hears both sides, when they hear these defense experts and they'd heard the prosecution experts, and the question is, did they cancel each other out, or did because I haven't really heard that the prosecution would really have to show that their witnesses absolutely carried the day and really proved it, and the defense witnesses are, kind of weak. And I didn't feel any knockout blow there. And so even if under the worst case scenario for the defense, the experts kind of cancel each other out and the evidence kind of cancel each other out, then that goes to the benefit of the defense. The case is not proved beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, we have no proof positive in this whole case. There's no eyewitness. There's no recordings. It's really just circumstantial evidence and experts back and forth. And so it's, I would say that there's reasonable doubt all over the place. There's been no knockout blow here for the prosecution.
All right, Katie, we're getting toward the end of the case. We thought Tuesday they're going to wrap up. That's tomorrow. Is that still in play? What's ahead?
So the defense has one more witness to call after this, that second crash reconstruction expert from the company ARCA. And then after that, there will be a handful of rebuttal witnesses. So this case could last the rest of this week, maybe Thursday, not exactly sure, but there are still a few witnesses that need to go. So definitely not Tuesday, the whole thing wrapping up, but the defense's case could wrap up Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, very good. Peter, thanks for joining us. Katie, we'll see you on the news later. For now, I'm Gene Valicenti in the NBC 10 newsroom. And we'll bring you this every day as long as the trial continues.
The trial captivating a nation.
John O'Keefe's niece testified. The juvenile recalled Reed and O'Keefe fighting in the weeks leading up to the Boston police officer's death.
There was a trip to Aruba where Karen Reed accused O'Keefe of kissing another woman, and there was a big argument. She said that things got progressively worse after that. There was a lot of fighting, a lot of voice raising.
The prosecution is trying to establish the fact that there was tenseness between John O'Keefe and Karen Reed.
NBC 10 News has the latest on the retrial of Karen Reed.